There's almost never a day that happens where I don't have something in my news feed about this concept of quiet quitting, where people are just like stopping working really hard on their business, stopping really pouring their heart into it. And the challenge for us as people who hire people is preventing that from happening in the first place, or correcting it when it starts to happen. And a lot of this comes down to this concept of how to keep good people, or at least get the people you've got to be doing everything they can to do things well. Well, here's the thing. I grew up with several bosses who didn't do a very good job of motivating me to perform well. And the thing that I discovered from that is that it's even more important for you to tell them that they're doing a great job and to thank them for the things that they do, as it is for you to correct them when they're not. So I've had several bosses in my early days. One of the reasons I worked for myself is because I had several bosses in the early days that were constantly telling me that the only time we communicated about anything in my working environment was to tell me what they wish I would do better, was to correct me, was to criticize me, whatever. And you know what? I felt like I was doing a really good job. And the other employees were telling me I was doing a really good job. And the sales results were telling me I was doing a really good job. But the boss couldn't seem to understand anything other than they wish I would do something differently. So I believe that the 5-to-1 rule is vital with employees. And by the way, teenagers, which is, and partners and all kinds of things, human beings need to hear 5 compliments for every time you try to correct them. So, and while you're on that subject, don't feel like I'm not saying you should never correct somebody, because if their performance isn't doing well, you do need to correct. And I suggest you do that early while that problem is small and can be easily be corrected. But recognize that you need to build an environment where you're constantly complimenting them on the parts that they are doing well. Now, I remember one boss said to me, I can't compliment them that they arrived to work. And it's like, well, that's a person you should probably get rid of. If you literally cannot think of a single thing that you can compliment them for in their job, they shouldn't be in that job in the first place. But when you get the new person in, start immediately complimenting. Like the end of the first day, you go to them and it's like, okay, here are the 5 things that I saw you did incredibly well today. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'll see you tomorrow. No correction, none anything else. It's just, here are things I saw you do well today. It's amazing. Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. And realize when it comes to correcting, what you need to be saying is not, you did there, or you need to, or you need to. The question is, how can I help you do better at this particular issue? Sometimes it's clearly communicating your expectations. That's been my problem all along, is that for some reason, I have worked for people who've had these expectations who are different than my set of expectations, and mine usually were different. They were just different than theirs, not worse or better or anything. They were just different. And so they weren't getting what they expected. And so I needed to be told very clearly, this is what I expect. But then also sometimes it's skills or training or tools or staff or something like that. But many times the problem is really attitude, especially right now with this quiet quitting and the whole leaving jobs and everything that has come up in the last couple of years. The challenge is you don't fix attitude by criticizing. You can't go to somebody and say, you need to buck up. You need to have a better attitude. That thing we used to hear in sports doesn't really work in the working environment. You fix attitude by giving them a reason to be excited about coming to work for you. And the way you do that is to help them feel great about what they're doing. So I personally believe that poor performance on your people's part is as much your fault as it is theirs. And so if your people aren't performing well, you've got to change you as much as you try to change them. And ask yourself, how can I do my part better so that I'm doing everything I can to keep this person, to motivate this person, to help them to feel appreciated and loved, so that they will continue to really give their utmost to doing this job. Now, I'm sure there's some of you who are going, I don't agree with this. I'd like to hear about that in the comments. This is Don Crowther saying, just go do this stuff.